Have you ever wondered what studying languages at a university is like? Maybe you're imagining something like this.
Dude, I watched all the 500 episodes of Naruto. I'm so gonna ace this test. Oh, did you choose the ancient anime elective for this semester? I heard it's super easy, so don't worry too much about it. I went with something a little more modern, something that reflects today's language more accurately.
Or you're thinking it could be something like this.
No, trust me, honey. I already went on high school exchange to the US and my aunt lives in the UK. I don't need to take any grammar classes.
Okay, that is probably not what you thought it was gonna be like, but there are people that legitimately think that that is what majoring in a language is like. After 4 years of studying two languages, Japanese and English, at a university, I know a little better now, and I want to share that knowledge with you. I'm gonna divide this video into two parts, the first being about the language and language learning and language classes, so the language itself, and the second part about everything else that comes with majoring in a language. Before we start though, I just want to make sure that you know that what I'm studying at my university might be different from what is offered at other universities. So before you sign yourself up for just any random language major, make sure that you do your research, ask people, send emails, know what the courses that you're going to take are about, so that you know what studying at your university will look like. Okay, now that that is said, let's get right into the first part, language. I found that there are two types of language degrees when it comes to the language requirements necessary to get even into the program. The first one is basically where you have pretty close to zero previous knowledge of the language, and in the course of 3 to 4 years, you're being taught that language. That means you'll have regular language classes besides your other classes, and those language classes are usually pretty fast-paced. They require a lot of studying outside of class because they want to get you to a level after 3 to 4 years where you can do research in that language. The second one is where you already have to have a certain level of knowledge in that language because the classes are usually conducted in that language as well as the research that you will be doing. That might sound like it's pretty high, but from my experience, it's not that high. And at least in Western Europe, all English and French degrees will have that level requirement because we already learned English and French in high school. So that is about the level that they expect you to have. Because the entry requirements are different for each of these language classes, the content of the classes will obviously be different as well. As I already said, the first class is really fast-paced because within 2 to 3 years of your degree, they need to get you to a level where you can hold presentations, have discussions, read articles, and conduct research in that language. That's why in the first year, you'll usually have 3 to 5 classes a week, and you'll learn a lot of grammar, a lot of basic vocabulary, and what I would consider communicative competences. A lot of people underestimate the amount of work you have to do outside of class, including homework, grammar studies, and learning vocabularies to keep up with the pace of the class. Especially in the first semester, a lot of people think that because they have minimal previous knowledge that they can easily keep up with the pace of the class, but end up actually falling behind and not being able to pass the tests. Here's a story of a guy I met during the first week of uni. He had already learned the basic alphabet of the Japanese language, and the new students, the ones that didn't know Japanese yet, obviously had to learn that first. On top of that, he had also learned some basic grammar with Duolingo and decided that the classes for the first couple of weeks were just too easy for him. He then stopped attending those classes that were supposed to introduce the alphabet and introduce basic grammar concepts, and he then didn't attend for a couple of weeks. What he decided instead to do was to just learn ahead at home. And he did end up learning the grammar concepts, but his knowledge of them was pretty superficial, because instead of the 5 times a week that all the other people had contact with that language, he would only learn about once or twice. After a couple of weeks, he then re-attended the classes and noticed that everyone was now ahead of him. And this discouraged him a lot. He never managed to get back on track with his learning, and he ended up failing that first semester big exam at the end of the semester. This is a pretty extreme example, and not everyone just straight up fails the first semester. But there are a lot of people that have that kind of mindset going into the studies and then get behind in all their language classes. For me, it definitely was a big change too, going from high school language classes twice a week to college classes every single day, and the pace just being way faster and you having to learn a lot by yourself. But it is really rewarding if you are consistent. On the other hand, and this is the downside, if you get sick or something, nobody will be waiting and you're still expected to keep up with that workload. For the second type, you probably won't learn any basics anymore because that are the requirements to even get into the program. Instead of language classes teaching you the basics or drilling grammar, you will deal with more advanced topics, more specific vocabulary, or specific types of texts. You'll also most likely learn a lot of explicit knowledge rather than just implicit knowledge, such as why pronunciation changes in certain places, why certain grammar structures are used in certain ways to convey certain meanings, and so on. On top of that, you might hone your writing skills, you'll have to hold presentations, and might have frequent discussions with other people. For these, the structure, the line of argumentation, and your mode of presentation are more important factors than how the language and how the grammar is conjugated, because again, those are requirements. You're supposed to already know how certain verbs conjugate or how certain sentences are built. So really it is about how you use the language more professionally or more in an academic setting rather than just how to get the meaning across. Just to maybe give you an example, some of the elective classes I could choose from were business English, technical English, medical English, and legal English, as well as translation and advanced grammar classes. Okay, that's it for the language part. If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me, or if you have anything to add yourself, feel free to share that in the comments as well. And now let's move on to everything else. What other classes you have really depends on the focus that your university has. Usually things like literature, linguistics, and teaching methods are likely to be part of the curriculum. You might also have classes on the history or the culture and the society that speaks that language. These are all kind of connected with each other, so if you learn about one thing, you have to learn about the other things, but it depends a little bit on the focus of your university, which one is going to be the main subject of a lot of your classes. Let me give you a few examples for what that actually means for the studying that you do. Literature and literary studies is a really broad field and can include anything from a classical poem or a novel to newspapers, pictures, advertisements, movies, shows, and anything else. Depending on the focus of the class, you might, for example, look very formally at how a text is structured. In a novel, that could be, for example, how a certain character is presented or how the introduction to a scene is written. In poems, that could be the rhyme structure. And in movies, that can be looking at the different shots that are used, how different camera angles portray certain characters or figures, and how the music adds to the whole feeling of the movie. Rather than just looking at the text formally, it is more common to also look at them through a certain lens of maybe the culture or a certain topic. I, for example, had a class where we talked about American sports and American athletes, and for that class we had to read autobiographies, we had to read newspapers, we were asked to even watch a Netflix show, and we were then asked to discuss certain topics such as men and women in sport, or the American dream, and if that is still something that is relevant in the 21st century. We also talked about racism in sport and about addiction and recovery. Another class of mine dealt with women and mental health, and it was interesting to read literature from different centuries. We discussed how women with mental illnesses and how mental illnesses were viewed during different times and how that has changed from the past and now. As you can see, studying literature is always kind of connected to studying the culture or studying the history or the society or all three. Linguistics, on the other hand, deals with the language itself, but not from a learner's perspective, and there are so many sub-branches. You learn, for example, about how the sounds are produced in our vocal tracts, and this can be really interesting to know for language learners because that way we can easily improve our pronunciation. We also learn about how words are formed, how certain grammar structures work and other grammar structures don't work, and why that is. And we also learn about what a language actually is and why a bird or a dog, for example, are not considered as using real language. There are a lot of really abstract things you're going to learn, but there's also a lot of really concrete knowledge that you will learn during your studies, such as why it is that 50 years ago people used certain words differently than how we use them today, or why emojis have a certain meaning that they convey that maybe our parents don't necessarily understand, and also why it is so awkward to receive compliments. My favorite thing in linguistics is probably second language acquisition, which is just a fancy term for how to learn a language backed by science. Linguistics studies a wide variety of things, and as with literature, it is also important to keep the society, the culture, and the history in mind when studying these things. Linguistics can get very formal and technical. A lot of the times, even data collection is necessary to make a certain claim valid or invalid. But in many ways, it can be really concrete and useful for language learning as well. I can't really say much about the other things such as teaching methods or cultural studies since I never really took any classes in those fields specifically, and I always try to be with my linguistics classes as much as possible. But I hope that this gave you a better idea what studying a language at a university actually means. If you have any questions or would like more details on anything that I mentioned in this video, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you're a language major yourself, feel free to add some more information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.